One thing I want to bring to your attention now, the threat for severe weather tomorrow, it's going to come in two forms, but they're both going to be lines, but two time periods we're watching closely. One's going to be the morning hours, and one's going to be the late evening hours. So the good news here is your afternoon looks okay and salvageable, and a lot of outdoor plans going on this weekend, particularly this Sunday. So let's get into the data here. This is the area that basically encompasses the entire day, but it doesn't quite tell the whole story. We've got a developing 48 first alert. Right now, we're probably going to stay away from a first alert weather day, but I think we're still going to have some very strong storms out there, and the potential's there for damaging winds and power outages, but it's not going to be all equal in the same areas. So once again, stay weather alert. Here's the higher threat for the severe winds coming in around 60 to maybe 65 miles per hour, and it's primarily focused a little farther to the northwest here. There's going to be a secondary line of storms that develops back here northwest of Memphis and then tracks southeast rather quickly. This will be a developing mesoscale convective complex, and that's going to dive southeast. You may not see much rain at all from the second one over here in Jackson County, but I want to stress it's real difficult to tell exactly where these storm systems are going to be. So let's talk about the fuel for these storms and why I think the morning round, while it could still have some damaging wind potential, fairly isolated damaging winds, maybe the 50 mile per hour kind of wind, the complex of storms that we'll get into that's developing in the morning, it's going to be racing all the way down here. It's going to have momentum built up with a lot of wind. That's why we'll probably see a lot of widespread 30 to 40 mile an hour wind gusts along the line. But you notice here the Cape, that's that instability, not as high here in northeast Alabama. I know some of you are going to ask about a tornado threat. These just typically do not produce tornadoes. They're primarily a lot of wind. And the morning thing, the one thing it has going for it, it has a lot of wind momentum built up. And part of that line is still going to be feeding on this Cape that's off to our west. You see how we've kind of stabilized as we get later in the morning, 11:30. This line of storms, of course, will be flying well southeast of us. New development will probably happen with this line east of Birmingham. So it's really complicated here, and that's why we have to kind of go through this with a little bit more detail for you and take a little bit longer than, say, a normal 3-minute weathercast. So notice how all this Cape really starts to increase again as you get out here to the west. So this is going to be a day where, a lot of people are going to ask, is the rain we had this morning going to stabilize the air? That answer is going to be no. But it will have a factor on where the next round moves. So as you see the Cape here, this is 2:30 in the afternoon, and it almost looks like this MCS kind of takes a right turn down towards Tuscaloosa as well. So this Cape starts to really increase once again right out here, and this is going to be the focal point for that next round that develops during right around sunset or so. So as we continue on here, here's the development of thunderstorms. And these always take the least path of resistance. They want to follow this high instability, and there's going to be much higher Cape here tomorrow. So notice the line. It just expands and fans out here. So let me zoom in here for you. So as we zoom in, you can see, the Cape's almost 4,000. We're most likely going to have a severe thunderstorm watch out for much of North Alabama and southern Middle Tennessee at this point. But again, just because the watch is there doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get storms. So we may have a watch that goes all the way from the Arkansas, Mississippi state line all the way to northeast Alabama and up into southern Middle Tennessee. Notice how that line quickly drops southeast into that higher Cape. And it's not going to go much farther east if that Cape's 300 in Birmingham. It likes to feed on this, see how the higher Cape down here, and that's why these storms can take these right turns. And that's also why they're complicated, they're very chaotic. But even though that complex may miss us with some of the heavy rain, we could still get a strong gust of wind coming out of that with that outflow boundary. So something to keep in mind. Monday, we're back to normal weather. So here's how it looks as we go through this tomorrow morning. Here comes the first round after 7 o'clock in the morning. Here's 8 o'clock. All along this line, strong gusty winds. We'll probably see a lot of 30 to 40 mile per hour wind gusts along this line. Keep in mind it may be in a weakening stage here, but you see some flare up here because as we get towards sunrise, that atmosphere is going to heat up a little bit more. So it starts to get warmer ahead of the line. but it's quickly going to get out of here. So by 11 o'clock, maybe even earlier than that, this is gone. So we've got the speedboat racing down here, Hydro Fest down at Lake Guntersville. Should be good for that. I think there was a 10 a.m. start time. I may be wrong, but that's what I remember. I may want to check their website. As we get to 2 o'clock, hey, it's another day just like we had Saturday. And I don't think much is going to happen out there during the afternoon. But here comes the next line. This is around 7:45. Keep in mind, it could be farther east. We don't exactly know. But this line will be coming through. It will be intensifying, but it's going to follow that higher cape that's going to be just off to the southwest. So that moves through. And as it does so, notice how it just dives. This is 10 o'clock. It dives southeast. So it makes a complete right turn. So we'll be here tracking this for you. We'll have Facebook Live, we'll have YouTube Live going, and we'll be monitoring it. Of course, our weather app will have information there. This is just a radar update here just before 7 o'clock in the evening Saturday, just to kind of show you there's not much going on today. All the action's up here. This low, very impressive low. They've got tornado watches out in Minnesota, down into Iowa. They've got more wind shear here. But the line of storms will develop up here tonight and break off, and it'll drop southeast, and that will be the beginning of tomorrow morning. Again, with this line that will develop and then track southeast overnight, and it'll be here tomorrow morning. So stay weather alert. Lightning threat's going to be high, and if you have outdoor events, of course, the lightning threat and then the high wind threat. And for some of you, this is going to happen, especially out in the shoals, maybe Wilson Lake, Pickwick Lake. It's going to happen around sunset or just before sunset. So some of you may be just getting off the water. So if you're a boater or if you're camping, now would probably, especially northwest Alabama, that's our biggest concern. Now would pretty much be the time that you want to be thinking of when you want to get off the water. Because the most difficult thing is when you're out boating and it's been a long day. You've been out in the sun because it's going to be hot and sunny tomorrow. Maybe a little dehydrated. Is to think of basically we need to get off the water now. And if you have to get in a hurry, say you're getting off the water and the storms are coming in, sometimes errors happen, trying to load the boat, things like that. So again, lightning's going to be a big threat out there tomorrow morning, and then again tomorrow afternoon, late afternoon, evening. So we're talking 7 o'clock. So have our 48 First Alert weather app with you. It'll be able to tell you what's going on. It'll give you those lightning alerts too. And again, Jeff Denoyers, our meteorologist in the morning, he'll be in here tracking this at WFF as well, having updates. And then I'll be back in tomorrow evening. So Chelsea's got the weekend off. So that's why I'm giving you this update here this evening. So again, you guys have a good evening, and feel free to comment. And I'll be back tonight at 10 o'clock on WFF 48 News.